Hello and welcome to my Brooklyn kitchen. Today I am showing you, this is like an example of what it looks like when I just get something in my head and I want to make it, and even though I know that it's going to take a million years to do and it's like a whole long process, sometimes I just want to make it. So here's what we're doing. This is like my like Sunday outfit, although it's not actually Sunday.
Farmer's market time. Go down to the farmer's market to see what we can find.
So for some reason this morning I started thinking about, or actually it was like last night, I basically started thinking about this story like once when I made like a tarte tatin for somebody, and then I was thinking about recently like them being dissatisfied, and it's like maybe it wasn't the absolute perfect tarte tatin as if I made like 100 tarte tatin before in my life, but I think it was probably like the third tarte tatin that I ever made, and I don't know, the person, now I don't even remember if it was like a real story or like a very vivid dream, but anyway, then I went to the farmer's market today and I got these beautiful tomatoes, and I thought to myself, oh my god, what if I did a little tomato tarte tatin, tarte tatin. And so that's what we're gonna do today. So we have to make some dough. This is also kind of a test recipe to see this butter, like as I said, well, I'll get to that. Okay, what I was talking about with the butter. After I got back from the farmer's market, realized I wanted to do this. Obviously, I really try to always have some butter in the freezer in case I need it, but obviously, like as well, butter is not great to use in pie crust and stuff when it's super frozen. And technically, tarte tatin is supposed to be with puff pastry, but I'm definitely not doing that today. And I was gonna like just pop over to the store and get some store-bought puff pastry, which is what like frankly most restaurants probably use. But I didn't feel like doing that either. So I'm gonna do like a little kind of quick pie crust, but then I'm gonna give it some folds and then make a tomato tarte tatin. I don't know, I really don't know how this one's gonna go, so let's see. Here's our pan for the tart. I guess let's see how the tomatoes fit, because you want it to be like one even layer. Oh, look at that. Amazing. One even layer of tomatoes. Who knew? Okay. So that works out. So then now that we have that sorted out, I'm just going to put these to the side and we'll do the crust. So how frozen are these? They're pretty soft. Okay. We've got some flour. I don't need too much dough because I'm using a small pan, but I also have, I think, half a pound of butter. Let's see. Yeah. So that should be the right amount, and salt. If you have frozen butter and you're trying to use it, the first thing you need to do is cut it up into small chunks, because it'll soften a lot faster if it's cut into smaller bits. That seems obvious, but you'd be surprised what I assume is obvious and what other people don't know. Okay, so now I'm gonna just throw these in here and toss them around. use like a pastry, you know, so your grandma or like your mom probably has a, like one of those pastry cutters with like all the little lines, and you could chop, that would work for this. But what I'm gonna do is use like a bench scraper, I think, instead of a pastry cutter. Or maybe I have one. I do not have one. I went to like a thrift shop or like second hand like antique store, and I bought a bunch of antique utensils. I thought I might have bought a pastry thingy there, but I did not. Okay, I'm like chopping this up into little bits as if this was a pastry thingy. And sorry that the camera's wobbling a lot. I had to, I need to buy a new tripod. There was a small incident. And also I have to say, I was keeping up so well with my nails, and now I have definitely filmed at least one episode with no cute nails. So if anyone was noticing my cute nails, I'm sorry about that. I'm taking a bit of a nail break, and we'll be back to regular scheduled programming ASAP. Honestly, this is the first time I've ever apologized for anything annoying in my videos, and that's because this is one of the only ones I care about. So if you see anything else annoying, either I didn't notice, probably unlikely, or it doesn't bother me. Okay, we've got some pretty large chunks of butter in here, but that's okay. And I think I'm making too much dough, but that's also okay because it's better to make extra dough. I think I've said this before. Everybody loves dough. Just kidding. That's not what I was meaning to say, but it's true. At least in my mind. Everybody in my mind loves dough. I have to be careful saying things like that. Okay, so I've made too much dough. The reason why it's no problem is because you can always put it in the freezer and save it for another day, which is so nice because then when you need dough, you have it. So it's no problem making extra. It's better, especially if you have frozen butter, like what I've been saying. You can't, it's harder to like divvy that up and weigh it up, so you might as well do your flour ratio to the amount of butter you have. Okay. Fantastic. Now, water. Here's how much water I put. maybe a little more water than I needed, but let us see. Okay, this is like the perfect example of a shaggy dough. So I'm going to show you because it's very shaggy. Okay, see the little bits they look like a little shaggy dog. That's what you're looking for. Okay. Mmm. Delicious. Okay. I'm gonna do this. When you're doing yours, you can just do it on the table, but I'm doing it here like this because for the reasons I already mentioned. So now I'm working this dough together, smushing the butter that I cut up, and I'm just basically kind of very lightly kneading this until it all comes together. And yes, if you practice like I do all the time, you too can make pie crust without a recipe. It's a power I do not take lightly. With great power comes great responsibility. So I take this very seriously. Okay. So this has formed a dough. Now I'm going to dump it out onto the table. And I'm going to form it I'm going to get it right to just together. Just so it comes together. And then I'm going to let it rest. Gorgeous. Okay. Look at that. Oh, honestly. It's been a long summer. Okay, this is gonna rest. I'm gonna wrap it. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it in plastic. Okay. I had a realization, and this is a good lesson. The moment you realize that you could do something a little bit better, it's great to just do that right away rather than wait till next time. So this is still soft, and what I realized is that I already know that this is too much pastry. It's probably like double, looks clearly like double the amount of pastry that I need. And this is how you tell. Okay, look at this, size of this, and the size of this. This dough is like 1.5 inches thick, and it's almost the same size as the pan that I'm using, which means that I have a lot of dough, more than I need. So instead of chilling the dough in this big round, I'm going to cut it into 2 separate balls so that when I roll out, I only have to roll out 1 ball. And I don't have to like roll this whole thing out to cut just enough for this, okay? So look, and I did it soon enough so this is still warm and easy to cut, and I'm not like no regrets, you know? Same with like in culinary school, you learn to use the right tool for the job. So when you realize, I think I may have mentioned this before, but like if you realize your bowl's too small, it's always going to be too small. No more space happening in that bowl. So just get a new bowl, or like, oh, I shouldn't be using a whisk anymore. Change it. Don't try to push through, because something bad is going to happen. It's also safety. Safety first. Maybe not with a knife. It's a lot about safety. Don't use the wrong knife. Okay. Into the fridge. Okay, I was thinking to myself, I'm sorry about the shake, okay. So this is also from my freezer. So this like episode should be called Welcome to My Freezer. Wow. I was thinking that tarte tatin like has like a caramel sauce that goes around the apples. So then I was like, well, I just have tomatoes, so what am I gonna do? So then I was like, oh, a few days ago I made a bunch of gazpacho, and so I'm gonna melt this gazpacho just to the point where I can like pour some of it out, and then I'm gonna reduce it and make kind of like a version of tomato paste that I'm gonna toss, because the pie crust needs to rest for like at least 30 minutes. So what am I going to do? Sit around twiddle my thumbs? No, do some work. So I'm going to reduce this, and it's going to be super yummy. Okay, so here I have the part of the sauce that's going to go around our tomatoes heating up, and I never let it like reach the boiling point, which is good for gazpacho. So this is just going to go in the fridge, and this I'm going to try to reduce into a paste. So let's see how that goes. Okay, here is our salsa thing that I made. It's still really hot, so I'm gonna let it evaporate. It's gonna thicken up a little bit as it cools down, because more of the moisture is gonna evaporate. And then I had another idea. Just to like make sure every culture in the Mediterranean is offended, I'm going to add a little bit of this extra feta that I have, because tarte tatin has a dairy element. When you make the caramel, you add cream. So I was like, should I add some cream to this tomato thing and make like a rosé? But then I had this extra feta, so I was like, I'm gonna crumble that and add it with the tomatoes, and it's definitely not gonna get melty, but that I kind of like that, since it's like a tart. There'll be like little tiny chunks of feta, like all kind of distributed through the tart. Concerns. One, I'm concerned that the tomatoes, when they hit the oven, are going to be too juicy, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. So now I'm gonna roll. I have my oven preheated to 400. I'm going to roll out my dough, but this also has to cool down. Well, not really. When you make tarte tatin, actually everything is like hot before you add the pastry on top, so it doesn't really have to cool down that much. So I'm just gonna basically let this cool as I roll out my dough. Oh, I said I was going to do some folds, but I'm not going to do any folds. This is just taking too long. I was inspired to make this recipe because I thought, okay, I want to make 2 videos today, and I should make something that I like, because I made a pickle before. So obviously you can't really eat that right away. So I was like, oh, I should make something that I can eat and have like for food right now because I'm kind of hungry. And then now I'm like making the longest thing that takes like so long and is very complicated. I kind of explained that earlier. That's basically my Sunday attitude, or like often my dinner attitude. I'll like make a big project and then take all day to make like one thing. Okay. I'm gonna make it just like about 1 inch larger than the circumference of the pan, because I like to tuck the little edges down and around all the filling, and that's like really nice and yummy. Okay, great. Perfect. This dough is about, I think, 1/4 inch thick. Great, so adding my tomatoes into our sauce mixture, adding a pretty generous, like, let's see, like a good pinch of salt. I'm gonna let it go slowly so you can see, because the tomatoes have absolutely no salt. I'm even gonna actually add a tiny bit more. You don't want it to be too salty, but the tomatoes have 0 salt and they have like all their juices and everything. So speaking of that, that is like, I'm very nervous about that. Okay, so I'm just tossing these in with the sauce. And then I'm going to crumble in some of this feta. Okay, and then I'm just gonna mix that up and throw it in the pan. So I have this herbaceous flour coated butter that I've had since I did a pop-up a little while ago. And I thought the herbs would be really nice with this, so I might as well use this one. Okay, so we have brown butter, and there's still a little bit floating around, but that's okay. We're gonna dump this in. Every little bit counts. Oops, whoa, yes, it sure does. Okay, just move this out. Mixy, mixy. Oh wow, the feta is melting. Now, pastry goes on top. Anything else I want to add? Think. No? Okay, pastry on top. And I'm gonna kind of shove it around like this to make a little tart. Normally I would try to get the edges like underneath, but this just kind of looks nice, so. Oh no, wait, I don't want to do that. Because if you keep it up like this, then when you flip it out, this is like an upside down cake, right? So when you flip it out, this is going to be weird. So I need something to curl them under. Okay. Oh, don't do that. Okay. Okay, I've shoved the edges all under. Now I'm gonna smush it and try to like flatten it out because it's like looking too round. This whole thing is gonna be way too wet. The dough is melting. I perceive that this might be my first thing that doesn't work out, but let's see. Okay, oven's on 400. Let's go in. And now we wait for, I'm gonna say 40 minutes, even though it's at 400, but I'm gonna check it after 35. Okay, I just turned the oven off because I saw some things were happening in here, and I think this looks beautiful. It smells really good. It looks golden brown, and so I'm going to take it out of the oven and I'll set this up so you can get a closer look. have waited like 20 minutes. I was very patient. I was like doing some scrolling, so that always helps when you're trying to wait for something to cool down. Okay. Let's see. The trick here is now I'm going to try to flip this out. You guys are very close. There we go. Okay, anyway. Okay, great. I'm gonna try to flip this out. Dirty. So I'm just gonna kind of poke around the edge and loosen anything that might need to be loosened. This smells so delicious, I can't describe to you how good it smells. Actually, yes, I can. Like, it just smells like tomato sauce, yumminess. Not really like a pizza smell, more like a creamy pasta rosé smell. I think that's like the cheese and the tomato. Okay. So now, let's see how this goes. I'm a little nervous. I think I'm gonna just flip it like this. Shaky, shaky. Tappy, tappy. Let's see. Oh, don't forget. Holy crap. Okay. That actually looks really good. But I can scrape off these little bits and just like replace them on top. Oh my gosh. I'm impressed with myself. Okay, so these little bits, I'm just gonna like kind of scrape them and replace them on here. But even if you didn't, that looks like so beautiful. Let me taste this. It's like burned. I don't think it is. Maybe I could have used a little bit less time in the oven, but well, I'll have to see once I take a bite. Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. I remembered a fork and I remembered a knife and I did not bring a fork. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cut a little slice. Maybe using a knife would be good to cut. I'm gonna take this piece. Look at that, and look at the crust. Everything's cooked. first of all, I'm gonna try the crust. Okay, this whole thing is super good. Whoa. Now let me try tomato. I hope it doesn't burn and explode in my mouth. Explode in my mouth and burn me. Definitely warm. So take caution. Let it cool. It could cool like an hour. Like make this ahead of time. You could probably, it would be great at room temperature. I can't wait to try it at room temp. It's like outrageous. So good. I'd say if you're sensitive to salt, well, it depends how much the gazpacho you're using is seasoned. If you wanted to like sub out just some like store-bought marinara that you kind of reduce, that would work. But I like the flavor of like the peppers and everything in this. If I'm going to be critical, it's a tiny bit too salty, but super, super delicious. And nothing that like a little dollop of like sour cream. I know I'm like, now I'm mixing way too many things, so don't listen to that. But it's like, if this is tarte tatin, I mean, what is a tarte tatin without vanilla ice cream? So that's where my head is. I added a tiny bit too much salt. So, you know, salt things how you like to salt things. That's, I don't mind when something's a tiny bit too salty, but I'm kind of trying to edge back a little bit. This is really good. You should try it. Make store-bought pastry, or like make store-bought pastry. Buy pastry at the store if you want to like do the kind of quick version of this. And yeah, really, really good. The feta is not melted. And when you get like a big pizza tomato, it's not really that salty. So I think because I had seasoned the gazpacho a little bit before I froze it, and then I reduced the gazpacho, it like increased the amount of salt. So just keep an eye on that if you're using, like I said, if you're using something like store-bought marinara, that really doesn't have very much salt in it, depending on what brand you buy, but most of them don't. So then you won't have to worry about it as much. So good, and the crust worked out perfectly. Super flaky. Yum. So good.